All right, so the Crew Motorfest comes out in exactly 2 weeks from today. I want to talk about some things because I've seen some bigger creators talk about the game's not worth your money. The game is going to flop. The game is just a DLC. Now, I do agree with some of their points, but yeah, I don't know. We're going to talk about the pros and cons from my experience. I never put out a review video, how I felt about the beta. I still have like 6 hours worth of footage. I probably won't have footage for everything I talk about in this video, but I will do my best to stitch together everything I do have. So yeah, let's talk about the good. We'll start off with the AI. The AI is a very good challenge. I think I was one tick away from being like the top difficulty, especially during the Made in Japan playlist. I was getting my ass beat and I had to retry I think like 8 times on one race, and I was driving flawlessly. So I think the AI definitely is a good challenge. Like Need for Speed Unbound, I feel like the AI was just dookie for the most part. The physics. Now, a lot of people do not like how the Crew feels. It is an arcade game. They have their own handling. It could be the engine they use. Who knows? It's kind of like you just play it for an hour or two. You learn the ins and outs of it, learn how to handle it, and play, and then it's enjoyable. Like, the people that are always complaining, I don't like how the game feels. Take an hour, turn the assists off. That's one of the biggest issues, is people leave all the assists on, and then that destroys how the game feels. Like counter steer assist, I don't even know why that's a thing. Turn that off and it's 100 times better. Things like that. But this new handling model that they have felt so good. Now, it's not Need for Speed Unbound. Most people are coming off of that, where you double tap or you break the drift and then you just drift around and there's like no skill involved. Like, you actually had to feather the throttle, you had to e-brake, you had to hit the brakes, you had to let the car slide on its own, you actually had to slow down to turn. The physics felt really, really good. And after about an hour, I got it down and it felt really good to me. Like I said, give it a chance, spend an hour, feel it out, throw the car around, do some races, turn off the assist, maybe leave ABS on and traction control, turn everything else off. It'll make you enjoy the physics. I guarantee you, especially counter steer assist is one of the biggest issues. Okay, so one of the things I saw a lot of people talk about was this felt more like a DLC. The map is definitely smaller. The map takes like 8 to 10 minutes to get across versus the 40 minutes it would take in the Crew and the Crew 2. I feel like they could have, well, I ruffled some feathers yesterday with my video. A lot of people do not agree. A lot of people agreed, but a lot of people disagreed. We're 3 years into the next gen cycle. We should not be getting games that are made for next gen and also last gen. It's been 3 years. If you don't have it, too bad. Hardware limitations are a thing. You're talking about 10-year-old hardware now. There's things like map size, especially in a game like this, map size is going to be held back because they have to release it on the PS4 and the Xbox One. We probably could have had a 1-to-1 scale of Hawaii, or we could have had the full American map, full USA, plus Hawaii. You could fly or drive your boat 20-30 minutes across the ocean and get to Hawaii, and then it would have been just as big. We most likely could have had that, but because last gen is still a thing, and for whatever reason, 3 years into next gen, they decide to do that, blows my mind. But a lot of people are like, oh, this doesn't hurt current gen. It hurts it. Hardware limitations are a thing. I'm not going to get into that, but it did seem like some of the city areas were like lacking NPCs, cars, people walking around. I don't know. It was a little underwhelming when I kind of did a couple events and I felt like I had already driven around the whole. Obviously, I didn't drive through every street and every corner, but yeah, the map does feel really small, and it does feel like it was supposed to be a DLC, so I'll agree with them on that. Another thing, maybe, the summits, the weekly races, are they getting stale? Is that a thing? Do we need a new model? I mean, because honestly, for me, I played the Crew and the Crew 2 at launch. I put like 100 hours into the first week the Crew 2 was out. And then when they started doing the summits every week, and then you would get rewards, and there was new races, very rarely did I go back to the game. It just wasn't like, oh, I could race, and if I get in the top, 10,000, you can get a car or whatever. It didn't bring me back. And if they're gonna go at the same thing, but it's like, at the same time, what else can they do? You're not gonna add new events and new ways to play the game every week, so maybe that's just the thing holding back the racing genre. I didn't play the big multiplayer race, but I've heard good things about it. I've heard like it's one of the best parts of the game. At one point I just stopped playing. I was like, I don't want to play anymore. I played enough of the beta. I don't want to do everything. I want to save some for when the game releases. I don't want to have to replay all of this stuff, so I just stopped.
That's cool, but to me,
another good thing about the game, engine exhaust sounds really good. Spot on. Ubisoft, Ivory Tower, you guys did an amazing job on that. Really, really good. It just makes you feel so much better when you're driving and you really hear like the 2J from the Supra. God, it sounded so good. Again, back to the whole summits and all that. The Crew 2, it had incredible post-launch support. They're still making stuff for the Crew 2. So I would assume Motorfest does the same. One big thing that I get tired of seeing it. Hey, well, Forza did it. Forza done it. Forza this. Forza that. It's always being compared. It is good to have competition in any genre of game. Okay, the Crew came out a year after the first Forza Horizon. It was in development at the same time. The Crew has always done its own thing. Like, there's boats, planes. A lot of people don't like that, but guess what? It makes the game different. And if we want games to get better and not be stale, we need competition, because if people leave Forza to play the Crew because they like a certain thing, then Forza's gonna be like, well, we lost players to this. How can we get our players back? And then it forces them to make a better game. Vice versa. It's just how it is. So people are like, oh, Forza, 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 Forza. Like, shut up. I just appreciate the game for what it is. Appreciate that we have different companies making different racing games, because the racing game genre, I feel like, is dying. It's just, there's not a lot going on. Last pro here. Overall, the game was fun for me. I enjoyed it. I played maybe 10 hours of the beta, and I had a lot of fun. I liked that when you were going around the different playlists, they were talking about the history of Hawaii, and they pointed out like Jurassic Park, where that was filmed, and different things that, you know, just history of Hawaii, which I've never been to Hawaii. I thought that was cool. Driving around, they talk about different things. Now, a lot of people might not care. Cool. People that have short attention spans, like this new Gen Z generation, they just want to get in, race, and be done. But for maybe some older fans like me that like history and stuff like that, I thought it was a great addition. I really enjoyed that. They had races where it was back in like the 50s or 60s, and they changed the filter and made it look older, and then it was like there's no GPS, so you got to look for this landmark and turn. I thought that was a really cool thing as well. I did like the playlists. I've seen a lot of people complain that, oh, well, you have to buy the car, and then you don't really use the car, and then sometimes you use your own car. Well, I agree. I feel like in the Made in Japan one, it was like I used the NSX, the Evo 10, the Supra. I don't know if I ever used my S2K that I had in Made in Japan. I honestly don't remember. It's been, what, a month since the beta? But kind of kills the feeling of, well, why do I need my own car then? And I remember I did one of the like the historic races, and I bought like I think it was a Chevy Bel Air, and I put like a decent amount of money into it, because it was like, you need to buy this car to race it. And then I went to the event, and I didn't even use the car that I had just put money into, and I was like, what was the point? So that was a little goofy to me. I think the atmosphere in the game is great. I think they really nailed just everything, how it looks, the whole, I think my favorite playlist, besides Made in Japan, because I'm a JDM boy, the Electric Odyssey, that was a great playlist. I'm not a huge fan of electric cars. I appreciate them for what they are. You can't deny that they're fast, but going through like a crazy thunderstorm with lightning and the rain, and just the effects of the lightning hitting and all that stuff, and racing through that, that's a great playlist. So I'm hoping that there's more to these playlists than just the beta. If they just have what was in the beta and that's it, that's gonna be a problem. So let's talk about the bad, okay? The bad here, 60 frames per second is what it's locked to. If you're on last gen, it's 30. I think that if you have a better PC, if you were playing on PC, which I played the beta on PC, then I think you shouldn't be locked to 60 frames if you can handle it. I did notice the rear view and side view mirrors were blurred. Now that technology, I feel like could easily, it has been, I think all the way back to Test Drive Unlimited, the first one, I think, even though it was made ages ago, I'm pretty sure they had, like, you could see out of your rear view and your side view, like the reflections, all that stuff. The wheel selection, my god, dude, we need some new wheels in this game. The wheels are horrible. The wheel selection is absolutely dookie. Would have been nice to see some new stuff. Again, the whole making it for last gen consoles is hurting it. The map size probably could have been better. Yeah, it has more detail, but then they got to spend time and resource dumbing down the game to make it run properly on PS4 and Xbox One. And I just feel like, we're 3 years in. If you Google it, 2021, Sony was already hiring people to make the PS6, and they're estimating that 2026, 2027 is when it's going to release. So we're basically halfway through this current gen cycle, and we're still optimizing games around old, outdated hardware, which hurts the performance of new games. It's time. Get rid of it. It's hurting the game. In turn, why some people say that it just feels like DLC and it's just lackluster and it doesn't feel like a 2023 game, which I agree with. This is probably an unpopular opinion. I'm sure there's people that agree with me, but being able to transfer your garage, I feel like hurts the longevity of the game. I feel like that takes some fun out of it. Like, the fun for me of playing a new racing game is starting from scratch. You got nothing in your garage, and you build up your cars. If I just transfer all my cars from the crew too, the whole reason I got bored is like, oh, I got this car. Okay, well, there's no really new races, and like, if you just transfer hundreds of cars, they're the same cars you've had. Start fresh, get a car you've maybe never driven before. I mean, if you have all the cars, I guess you've driven them all, but there will be some new cars in this game, and there will be some leaving the game. But then, at the same time, you transfer your cars, and then, okay, you have the requirements, and then when you do most of these playlists, you're using predetermined cars that aren't even yours anyway, so it's, I guess, doesn't really matter. But for me, building on my garage again is something I enjoy, so I'm not using that option to transfer my garage. I will say the game did feel a little stale after completing the playlist. I think the only one I just did not do was the Porsche playlist. I was just like, all right, I've had enough. I don't want to do any more. I'll wait till the game releases. And I think you could go back and use your own cars in the playlist to post faster times. I remember seeing some crazy times. I was like, there's no way they used the car it gave you. There's no way in hell. It was like minutes faster. So if that's one way that they stretch out the playlist, that's fine. I hope that the play, like Made in Japan, if those couple of races I did are the only races in the Made in Japan playlist when it releases, that's going to be a problem. So hopefully some of that content was just hidden from us. And let's talk about the pre-orders. Last thing, guys, last thing. So you got Standard, Gold, Ultimate. And, I mean, it comes out in 2 weeks from today, okay? The 14th of September. You get early access. You can play it on the 11th, Monday the 11th. Okay, I don't know what time. I haven't looked into it. I just know you can play Monday the 11th. I don't know if it'll be at midnight. I don't know if it'll be a certain time, whatever time zone. So the good thing, if you guys know, Need for Speed Need for Speed Unbound, they really been skimping us on the cars. We were hoping for more, and the DLC cars are expensive, and it's like 1 or 2 cars. The crew here, the 1-year pass is going to be 25 additional cars. So pretty much one a month, which is way more than Need for Speed. It's less. Is it? Well, I think Gran Turismo does like 3 cars every 3 months, is it? So it's about on par with that. And I think the only way to get the 2023 Dodge Charger SRT Hellcat Red Eye is to get the vehicle pass. But I mean, that right there is a good deal. You figure $30 extra for 25 cars plus early access. I hate that early access is a thing. I hate that companies just, oh, you want to play the game a couple days early? Here, pay us more money. It's just like, and it's like people like me, it's like if you try to beat the curve, if you didn't get a review copy and you want to get some content out, like, you got to do it. But I mean, for the average consumer, I wouldn't worry about early access. But I mean, alone 25 vehicles for an extra $30, that's a little more than $1 per car throughout the year, which is way more of a value compared to like Need for Speed. You wanted that crazy Gundam looking RX-7, that was what, like $15? You want to buy the iconic Eddie Skyline, when the other car, I think they had the Polestar and Rachel's 350, they were charging like, I don't even know how much it was, but for the price of that, you can get 25 cars, 3 cars, 25 cars. I mean, you tell me. But I mean, I don't know. I might wait and just get the standard, but I'm like, well, we don't really know. I think they showed off the S chassis, the 240, and the S14. It was the S14. I think it was the Cookie, and the Z, the new Z, 400Z. But besides that, we don't really know what the new vehicles will be. But I mean, regardless, $30 for that is a great deal, plus early access. Plus you get the Liberty Walk GR Supra, which then allows you to do the Liberty Walk playlist, which hopefully is cool, because I think there's also a new BMW, I don't know if it's the M4, which you need to do that as well or something. I don't know. But look, man, I just wanted to give my thoughts, my little review on the beta. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I've always enjoyed the crew. I know a lot of people don't. Give it a chance. It is a solid game. We got a ways to go till test drive. Solar Crown's coming out. Boy, I don't know when the new Forza Motorsport's coming out, but I mean, this is pretty much the only racing game on the bracket right now. Enjoy it. A Car X Street, what happened to that? Is that just dead in the water? God, it's almost been a year since it was supposed to release on PC. I haven't heard a damn thing. But look, you guys know the drill. Subscribe, come back. See you on the next one.